Hello there, I'll try again. I've tried 5 times but I keep getting interrupted. So I am doing a talk today on the silent rebels. And we all know what a rebel is. And most rebels are quite vocal about what they are. And they're happy to say so. And they'll stand up in front of a crowd and they'll shout and scream and say, we're not going to give in until we get what we want. And these people will stand up for what they believe in, regardless of the consequences. And you see it with all the activists. They go out and they do the protests and they'll stand outside Parliament buildings and things and say we're not taking it anymore. And they're very outspoken and vocal about what they believe in. But the silent rebels are someone different. So I am a silent rebel. So the silent rebels are the people who sit in a crowd and you don't notice them. It's almost like you blend into the crowd or into the background, and people underestimate the silent rebels because you don't vocalise very much and you don't go around kicking and screaming. You'll just say okay and just walk away, and you're going to do something that people don't believe you'll do. And I'm doing this talk today to put some hope out there, because what we've get implanted in our heads constantly now is fear porn, and it's always bad news here and bad news there, and this government or that country are going to decimate this one, and we're going to do all these bad things to people, and it gets stuck in your head that we've only got enemies in power, and you get to a point where you think there's no hope, this is scary, I don't like it. So this is to give hope to people who are getting scared about what goes on behind the scenes, because all we get told is the bad things that are happening and all the plans that are put into place to destroy us, to hurt us, to hurt animals and the nature and everything else. So all we get told is the bad stuff, like they're going to take us down, they're going to put systems in place that imprison us even more, and right, so we all know about all this, and that's why people walk around with depression and anxiety and fear, because we think, what's the point, all we've got is this bad stuff coming in. But I'm going to give you some hope now. So there's an aeroplane going over at top, it's putting me off, but no, it's an helicopter. But anyway, the silent rebels, what you've got to remember and tell yourself is that these people are all over the world in all departments. Can you hear that? I live next door to an airport, so we get things coming in all the time, but the silent rebels are the people who work behind the scenes. And what makes me laugh about them is they're like me. You can be sat in a room full of people and they're all screaming out, oh, we don't believe in this, we think everyone should get jagged and this, that and other, and you just sit there quietly, and people think because you're not shouting and screaming that you're part of the crowd and that you're going along with it, but you're not. And you do what you have to do to survive. So you might lie, because it's okay to lie to liars, you know. If you've got an oppressor in front of you, it's okay to tell fibs, I don't care about that. So I'll do another talk on that, the difference between moral and legal, right? So there's a few examples of people, because I wanted to find people that give people hope. So we're going to go through worst case scenario. So go back in history to find out what the future is, because that's what I do. If you want to know where this is going, go back, because the stories are the same ones that unfold time after time. So we go through periods of war and periods of peace, but there's always rebels, and there are those who'll stand up and shout and say no, we're not doing this, and those who support the wrong side, if you like. They'll always be there, but the ones who work behind the scenes are the ones I'm looking at, because they're always overlooked, because they're silent. And when somebody sits in a group of people and they're quiet, you just presume sometimes that they're just going along with the rest of the group, and it's not always true. And so some of the rebels I've looked at are during the World War II. So one of the ones that I read was about 3 Belgian schoolboys, and they ambushed a Nazi death train that was on its way to Auschwitz. I can't say it, Auschwitz. And they freed 17 people and helped 225 people escape. And they're schoolboys. Now, they didn't go around telling everyone they was going to do this, because they would have been stopped. Because people protected the wrong side even out of fear, because they'll say, don't make a scene, we've got to do what we're told. But 3 children went and ambushed a train and rescued other people, and they did it without any fanfare. They just did it. And then there's another story of a guy called Nicholas Winston, and he led 669 children from the Nazi oppression from the Czech Republic into Britain, and he did it by organising permits and passports. So this man had authority, and he was told to do something else, and he went against the authority. So we've got to try and remember that even in all these departments around the world that do oppress us or try, there's always somebody within them who will stand up and go against the grain. And these people are like the silent heroes, because most of them don't get caught until much later. So there's another one, and this one is 2 women. One was called Irina Sendler, and she saved 2,500 children from Warsaw, from the ghetto, by smuggling them in suitcases, coffins and rucksacks. And she also smuggled into the ghetto medicine, clothes and food. She was arrested in 1943, but she was released after the guard was bribed by protesters. And then after that she worked under a false name, so she got away with it. Then the other one was called Diana Budislavic, I can't say these names, and she saved 7,700 children. Now, when these people were doing these, what we now call heroic acts, they were going against their own establishment, because these people were told, you do this, and they said okay, and then went and did the right thing, which was something else. And they didn't go around telling people about it for a good reason, because if they had made a fanfare about it, they would have first of all been stopped, and if they'd have bragged about doing it at the time, they'd have been probably killed or sent to prison, and the children in their care would have been taken. These people are true heroes, because imagine how frightening it is when you're the only person in your department who does the right thing, when you know that if you get caught, you've had it. Because during times of oppression like wartime, everybody's told what to do, and you will do it, and people police each other, and they make each other abide by the rules. Even if they don't like them themselves, even if they don't believe in them, they will still follow something through because they're told what to do. And this all starts from the indoctrination in childhood, where we're taught to do as you're told and shut up and just obey. And when you indoctrinate people like that, they will stand by somebody who's crazy and evil, and they'll just do what they're told, even though in their hearts we all know right from wrong, and they know that they're doing wrong, but they will still stand up against something they don't even believe in, for something they don't believe in, just because they don't do anything other. But amongst those people, there are people who appear to be doing the same thing, and yet they are going behind the scenes and doing what they should not do, and they're doing it anyway. And it's important to remember these people, because I mean, there was one guy, which one was this one, Nicholas Winston, who saved 669 children, it was nearly 5 decades before anyone knew what he'd done. So he was so good at what he did, and he did it so officiously that people didn't even know what he was up to, because he was looking the part, like I'm part of your regiment or whatever, your department, and I'm just doing what I'm told to do. But he wasn't. And so the silent rebels give us hope, because those are the people who've got the courage to go against the grain and risk everything to do what's right. But we're never taught about them, you know, because they don't go around with fanfare, do they? They're not the people who go around shouting about it and telling everyone what they've done. And so they go undercover. And it's like all these people who go around helping other people without a camera, you know. And you know what I'm talking about, because we live in a time of social media, and people walk around with a camera filming every little tiny thing that they do, including putting a camera in a homeless person's face when they're at their lowest ebb, and then giving them some money or a bit of food and not showing their own face. And then people go, oh gosh, that's a hero feeding them. But it's not to me, because what you're doing is getting likes for doing something that should be done in secret. And when we do kind acts, it shouldn't come with a fanfare and trumpets. It should just be done because you're a good person and you want to help somebody. And we've got to remember that there are a lot of good people out there who do a lot of good things, and they're often overlooked because they don't go around telling everyone. But they're out there. So I've been looking on Facebook again, and I keep coming off of it after 10 minutes because it's just all doom and gloom, and a lot of it is from the truth speakers. And it's all, these bad things are going on and they're going to take us down and do this to us. But they never put us happy ending on it, like, but don't worry, because here's an answer to it. And they don't offer solutions, and so therefore they're as bad as the other ones who don't believe anything's going on in the world, because these are the people who put bad news on you about what's really happening behind the scenes, but they don't give you any hope. Like, how do we cope with that? So they leave you feeling desolate and depressed. So I'm just sick of the old movement at the moment, the old conspiracy movement, because it is all doom and gloom. And there are always alternatives. And sometimes you can sidestep things that are going on, and sometimes you can skirt around them, and sometimes you can walk straight through them and not even be noticed. And it's all about your character and playing a part, and having knowledge, because knowledge, having the knowledge is power. When you know what's going on, you can know how to get around it. So I'll just try and think of an example. For example, the big one at the moment is, I think, is the cancer thing. There's all this cancer going on, and they say 1 in 3 people will get cancer at some point in their life. But what they'll never tell you on the media is that there are cures for it, and there's also ways you can stop it from even progressing or getting it in the first place. And it's all down to diet and mind and your physical health. And we're not taught the truth about nothing, so it's all doom and gloom, and everything's really bad, and look at all these people. And when I read stories about people like this, I always think the way that the world is portrayed, with all the doom and gloom and all the bad news and the sad news, and it makes people feel angry and upset and just fearful. If we were told all the good stuff about what people do, and all the times somebody saved somebody's life, and all the times that somebody's rebelled within a big massive establishment, then you start to feel hope, and you'd feel something different. You'd feel positive and happy, thinking, oh, thank goodness, at least we're not alone, there's somebody on our side. And there is. Now think about it, they say that the world is dominated by, is it 12 families? So you've got like your Rothschilds and your Rockefellers and all this, and there's like 12 families. Do you think they're all in it together? And most people will go, yeah, well, of course they are. Are you saying that they never fall out or rebel against each other? Sometimes we get caught in somebody else's war. And I don't believe for one second that these 12 families are all in cahoots with each other 100%, like it's all, yeah, we're all going to do this together and we're all going to do this together. They've got rebels within them, rebels against each other. But we're never taught this and we're never told about it. So all these wars that we're told about are what they try and orchestrate behind our backs and get us all et up about, and yet a lot of it will never come to nothing because they can't even agree with each other. Now, I don't know what it was, but I'm going to just look it up now because I got it planted in my head that during World War II, everybody were getting bombed, and it was such a terrifying thing. And I'm talking about the UK, so I'm going to say UK bombing. How many victims? World War II. Because what I got told, I'm looking at the, so the fallen, this is the UK Parliament, right? In World War II there were 384,000 soldiers killed in combat, but remember these were all on the front line, a lot of them, and they were fighting each other, so that was a battle, man against man and machine against machine, so they were away from everybody, so that's them. But the civilian death toll was 70,000 as opposed to 2,000 in World War II, largely due to German bombing. Now, during our history classes at school, we were told that everyone got bombed and so many people died, and it was terrifying. Now, 70,000 people is a lot, but it's not a lot, because how many millions of people are in this country? And how many millions of people were back in World War II? So our population of UK during World War II, 50 million. 50 million people were alive during World War II, and 77,000 got killed by bombing. That is a fraction of the people, and yet we were told, the way that it was told to us is that everybody was getting bombed. There were bombs going off everywhere, people were dying everywhere, and they all were under shelters and all that. Most of them survived. Most people survived World War II. I'll tell you what killed most people in World War II was the flu. And the flu, from what I read, started in the military after they were all given these jags. Does that sound familiar? And because these men had been fighting for years, and imagine how exhausted they were. You're exhausted, you've got post-traumatic stress disorder, you're traumatised, your immune system's going to be zilch. And then they give them something and they all start dropping like flies. It's funny that, isn't it? Get rid of them all after they've been cannon fodder, so they can't come back and see what the real truth was about it, because we've done your job now, so let's get shot of them all. So 70,000 people were bombed in the UK and killed. It's still a lot of people. It's still 70,000 more than it should have been, because I believe in war, but that's not what we was given the impression of in school. Not in my school. The impression was it was millions of people dying and everyone was terrified, and all these children were taken from the parents from the cities to put into countryside, so they didn't even have the children. It was an absolute disgrace. But the disgrace is how they hammed it all up as well. And we're lied to about all our history, we're lied to about everything, and there's all this fear mongering going on and all this bad news all the time. But every time I go and do a little bit of research, I find a hero in every single story who saved hundreds or dozens of lives, thousands of lives. There are heroes in every decade, in every era, in every story, and the press choose not to talk about them because that's boring. and who wants to hear about them. And also the power that they tell us they have over us is also hammed up, because I am living my best life on a minimum wage job because I found a niche way to live. If I was back home down where I was doing my old life, I would be stressed. But I found that we live in like a parallel universe. I can walk around that situation by removing myself from it, and it's not easy to do. To get where I am now, I've had to suffer years worth of being homeless and find my way through things, and I found a way through it. So there's always answers, and it's just trying to stay positive and think about this, because there's a man, I don't know if he's done any videos recently on YouTube, and he's called Alan McDermott, and he used to work for the DWP, and he tells people what the scam is behind there and what they're up to. But he's also a rebel, and he used to work in that department, and he used to give people the money back and everything, and he was a very moral man. And they are out there, they're in every single department, so don't lose hope that things are really terrible and bad, because there's always good amongst it. And we are the silent rebels. You don't go around with a fanfare, but you know the truth, and we live by it. And I'm not going to do anything to hurt anybody on purpose. So there's millions of people like me out there. It's not just one person, it's not just you, there's millions of us, and we're the ones who change this world. So be a silent rebel. Don't go around telling everyone what you're doing, because they'll always try and stop you, even your own family. Just do what you know is right, and don't tell anyone about it, and just carry on. So I'll see you next time. Bye.